Manish sir,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jitesh Kumar will also be joining, so make him
Oh,
co-host.
I made it.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So good morning, all of you. This is the second day of this AICT TEL program. Uh, so in the second phase, we will start our training session with a one hands-on session, and this hands-on session will be conducted by the Koshendra Singh Sishodia. Uh, Good morning, sir. Good morning, Koshendra Singh.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So, Mr. Koshendra Singh Sisodia has 20 years industry experience and the co-founder of one company is called Uniconverse Technology Private Limited. Prior to the Uniconverse technology, he played various key roles in Ericsson, ST microcontrollers, and other MNCs also. Under his leadership, the Uniconverse has been chosen by the Nexus, and the Nexus is even University of Texas USA startup hub, and he is collaborated with the IIT Jodhpur for the commercialization of industrial IoT domain and research and development products. Mr. Koshendra Singh Sishodia is a IIT Kanpur alumni. He has delivered the various talk to many university and college on the Internet of Things. And apart from this Internet of Things, he has given the talks on Industry 4.0 and convergence of the technology and the startup ecosystem. So I welcome Koshendra Singh Sishodia sir to please deliver his talk first and do the some hands-on experience. Welcome, Koshendra sir.
Okay, thank you, Manish sir. Good morning, everyone. So let me share my screen. Sir, my screen is visible, Manish sir.
Yes, sir, is it visible? So
Okay,
do
thank you,
it
sir.
full screen if possible.
Yeah, I will do it. Yeah. So welcome everyone in the FDP program for the recent trends of Internet of Things. So today's topic is hands-on with edge computing. So edge computing means we would be running something, some machine learning algorithms on the IoT devices. So this is the brief agenda. So initially, I would be building some context for the hands-on session that we would be taking, and later on, Mr. Jitesh would also join in, and he will take over from me. So we would be quickly going through with the IoT and machine learning, what it is, steps in machine learning constraints, hardware solutions, TensorFlow Lite, because we would be using TensorFlow Lite and Edge Impulse as a tool for today's hands-on. So we would be quickly checking the theory behind this. Then machine learning use cases, predictive maintenance. That is the very key use case for machine learning with IoT. So this machine learning is very crucial when it comes with IoT in the industrial domain, industrial IoT domain, because it is very critical. We cannot bear the delay that it takes to connect with the cloud, and then we get some conclusion for taking some action. So we in the industry domain, they want to take very quick decisions, and they want to have all the intelligence at the device side. So, and then Mr. Jitesh would be taking over for the edge impulse and the predictive maintenance. So probably he has planned for two hands-on. One is object detection on the device, and another is the predictive maintenance. So depending upon the time availability, he will check that how much he can cover. So so let us quickly check this fact that IoT is not just a technology, but it is a complex ecosystem. So if you talk to different people, they define IoT in a different way. Some people say it is embedded system, some people say it is cloud computing, some people say it is machine learning or big data. Some people discuss about the communication, how data is communicated from one place to another place. So IoT is a complex ecosystem basically, and if we take an analogy with the human body, uh, this is, I think everybody knows, but just to make a context that why machine learning, machine IoT is incomplete without machine learning. So this picture would explain the fact. So if we talk about a human body, we have different nervous system, muscles, through which we have various sensual activities. So we sense a lot of physical activity happening around us, and those signals are communicated to the brain, where it takes the decision, it does the processing. The similar way in IoT, we have lot of sensors, actuators, and through some communication medium, we send it to a central repository or database, or cloud server, or like whatever server we have, cloud server or the local server, where we run the analytics. So if we have lot of data coming and we don't do anything with that data, then the whole exercise is useless. So it is very important that we use some analytics, we use our brain to analyze that data and take some intelligent decisions. So that's why IoT itself is incomplete if we don't talk about machine learning around it. So that's why today's topic is machine learning with IoT. So now we can quickly check what is machine learning. So machine learning, if we talk about the traditional modeling, so in traditional modeling, like we when we program with our computers, what is our approach if we want to predict something, some value? So we would be having some model for this, handcrafted model that would predict that some outcome, and we have some data, and data and the model is fed in into the computer as a program, and then we have some output coming based on the data we have given the input as input. So this is the simple approach for the traditional modeling when we run the prediction. But when we talk about the machine learning, it has two steps. Now machine has to learn basically, and it has to do the prediction. So we have two steps. One is the learning part, and another is the prediction part. So in learning, we have we provide the data, the input data, sample data, and we provide the expected results. So whatever was the output from the, like in the traditional modeling, the output was the result. So that result is given as an input, and we give the sample data. Now computer, the machine learning, it has to make a model. So whatever handcrafted model we were giving earlier in a traditional modeling, now this is the basically output, that what model is fitting into the, if we give a defined input and we have defined output, so what is the model that defines the output behavior. So that is, and that model is when we have that model, that is called learning. And the prediction, that model is again fed in to the in the machine learning as a machine learning algorithm. And we, when we have new data, so based on new data and the derived model, we can predict the future, what is about to come. So the later part is called prediction, or it is called inferencing also. So in machine learning context, when we talk about machine learning with IoT, if we talk about the edge computing, so sometimes processing a lot of data, the learning part could be little bit complicated because it needs a lot of computation, lot of things. So that would be little bit tricky. But the prediction or the inferencing part, where we, once we have the model and we want to make inferences based on the new data, or we want to have a prediction, this part can be like ported to a small piece of hardware also. The above part we generally use GPU, TPU, or like BPU, whatever the hardware accelerators that are very much needed for the learning part. But for prediction part, that this is our today's topic, that how to run this inferencing on a small piece of hardware. Like we have a Cortex ARM microcontroller. How can we run inferences on this one? So now steps in the data processing, it is just for your quick knowledge that these are the typical steps that we follow in the machine learning. We have raw data, And then we divide into three steps, like data engineering, then machine learning, then the operation. So in data engineering, generally raw data is very much noisy or irregular data. We cannot use it for the machine learning. Basically, machine learning, until unless the data is not very healthy, the model would not be very good. So it is kind of like, um, uh, if it is imperfect data, whatever, whatever, how much good model you can make, but the prediction would not be good. So basically, this data has to be little bit filtered, so that we can use it for the machine learning algorithms. So in the first part, data engineering, we do data wrangling, cleansing, and the preparation. Machine learning, we do the model learning and model validation. These are the two typical steps, and we do the deployment in the final step. So, and once we have a data set, it is data set, how do we get through the IoT. So when we have deployed a IoT solution, we would be getting data from various sensors, machines, or some other kind of data. It could be a visual data, or it could be numerical data, or some other physical parameters. So that is the data set. And this data set, generally we divide into two part. One is the training set and the test set. So training set is further divided into the training set and the validation set and the test set. So this is the way how we make the machine learning model, and we do the validation, that how much accuracy we have achieved through the machine learning algorithm. And then finally we have the predictive model. So this is the thing I just wanted to take. So this is a example that we would be covering in a hands-on session. So we would be having two objects, and we would be training the our model with by showing the two objects. So here, for example, we have apple and banana, and both the objects would be having different kind of features. Like its color could be different, its shape could be different, and the weight could be one of the feature. So by showing all these features, feeding in these features, and we would be putting label. So whenever we would be showing some object, we would be giving a label so that it can know that what it is. And later on, once it has learned sufficiently, then we would show a new object, and we would ask that what it is. It is either object one or object two. So this is the hands-on we would be doing, and this would be done on a simple piece of hardware. Like we would be using ARM Cortex AMP process microcontroller. We would be not using a very high end. So the purpose of today's exercise, that how can we port a complex machine learning algorithm in a very tiny microcontroller, because that is the practical implementation. Nowadays, like people are making a lot of advancement in machine learning algorithms, and other side where people are also working towards that, how can we port in a very small device, because that would make our the devices smart. We can take a quick decision at the device side itself. So if we show some objects with a different features, like one we have shown red round leaf with the leaf, and the weight was 3 ounce. And we would, when we will show this object, we would label it as a apple. Next time we will show another object with green color, a round, no leaf, and 4 ounce as a weight, and we again tag it as a apple, because apple can be green also. It would be round. It can have leaf and no leaf. So like as much as data we will show, the chances of making right decision would be more, because not always apple would have a leaf. Sometimes it could be without leaf also. Now, if we show another object that is yellow in color, it is curved, no leaf and 4 ounce. So, because it is curved shape, so and yellow in color, we would tag it as a banana. And another we have shown green, curved, no leaf and 5 ounce, and it is again tagged as a banana. So similarly, we can have a multiple more samples to make it learn, because by showing this much four samples, there is still possibility that it would make a wrong decision. So if we give almost say 100 or 1000 similar kind of samples, then there is a chance then that even if we give a new kind of object like a new shape on with a little new feature, uh, a, a new combination of the features, then our model would make a right decision. So the size of data set matters a lot with the correct data values. uh, so that is very important. So based on these levels, the model will learn and it would make a like we have a model and classifier, and then we have a new object. Like if we have given with a red color round and no leaf and four orange, then we would ask with the model that tell us that what it is. Then it would tell based on its learning that this is a apple. So this is a simple, very simple example for a classifier or machine learning algorithm. And if we talk about a little complex where we have very deep learning, so there we have to divide into multiple layers. So that's why we say like we have CNN and this uh, where we have the deep learning, we have multiple layers. So in each layer, so at a high layer we would be having very coarse level of features, and as soon as we would be going in deeper in the layers, we would be going towards the finer features. So initially if we talk about the object models, the next point next layer we would be working on the object parts, and then next layer we would be working on the edges, and in the further down we would be working on the pixels. So if we include so much of information with different layers, so processing this much layers, it needs a very complex computation hardware and algorithm. So this is that's why it is called deep neural network. And generally for imaging and for video processing, we are using deep neural networks. So this was a brief about the machine learning and IoT. So here these are the key issues for the machine learning, that even if we have a very we have lot of data, but this could be only good when the quality of the training data is very is reasonable good. Then only the machine learning algorithm would work. And there would be almost 250 billion embedded and IoT devices. So for these many devices, if we take all the data to the cloud, it would be very difficult. So that is the reason that some of the processing is being shifted towards the edge side. So we send only the relevant, very like low, very less frequently changing data towards the cloud. Very fast changing data we should process at the edge side only. So this is the performance parameter when we talk about the IoT system. It is the reducing the latency and the saving energy for the data communication. That's why we are using the edge devices, edge processing, so that the latency, because for data would have from edge side to the cloud side, it would take some time to go there and come back. So there would be a certain latency, and it would be consuming some energy, some power. So we can save these two the prime factors by doing the processing at the edge side. So this is the different layers we talk about, edge layer and the fog layer and the cloud layer. So I will not go into deep, but I think we can go the applications. So in edge layer side, large volume real-time data processing we do, and it is used in the industrial PC, embedded system, gateways, and micro data storage. So these are the objects that are using for the edge processing. And why machine learning is moving towards the edge, we have already covered in previous slide, because of the bandwidth limitation, power, cost, latency, reliability, and security. So because of all these factors, the industries, mainly the industries, they want to retain data at the edge side only, and they want to take some intelligence over there. And now if we talk about the how do we implement these machine learning algorithms at the device side, we would be using mostly the ARM Cortex-M processor. And here uh, it is expanding opportunity for the embedded intelligence market based on the different use cases. uh, we would be this ARM Cortex M and the edge computing would be utilized. So here we would be having more data, more processing would be required, more algorithms would be required, and more computation. So there is a need of doing advancement in the ARM Cortex processor microcontroller also. So continually it is improving so that it can support even the complex machine learning algorithms as well, because we would be having sensor fusion, lot of data would be coming, contextual awareness, voice activation, biometrics. So lot of different variety of data would be coming. So until unless we don't have a powerful controller, it cannot process this various kind of data. This is a typical graph for increasing power and cost versus increasing the performance. So uh, if we talk about uh, the lower part, here we are using the ARM Cortex M system, but as we go up at the right hand side, the smartphones, image enhancement for the smart TVs, and the autonomous cars, where we would be using high power up to 100 watts. Here we would be using different kind of higher end of microprocessor processors, or the some hardware accelerators. And this side, at the lower side, we can manage with the ARM Cortex M. So right now in present hands-on, we are considering the use cases where we have some like object detection, pattern training, or the keyword detection. So this much things could be covered by ARM Cortex M. But if we have to support high bandwidth or high processing, probably ARM Cortex M would not suffice. We have to move towards the other kind of application processor or some other kind of processors that can take the that can support the GPU or TPU, the other hardware accelerators basically. So if we talk about the edge and cloud system, the system architecture generally has processor, compiler, memory architecture, DSPs, and in hardware accelerators we have FPGA, ASIC. In ASIC we have GPU, TPU, and BPU. So this is the complete system that would be supporting machine learning with IoT. The compiler has a very important role, because until unless we don't have the optimized compiler, as we know that embedded system, it means it is constrained in the processing power, and it is constrained in the memory. So until unless we don't optimally utilize both of them, it would be difficult to run the process. So we have to have a very optimized, very advanced compiler that can convert our high level program to the machine learning or the machine language or the binaries, so that it can be ported exactly to the given hardware underneath. And the memory architecture, how do we decide the RAM and the other cache memories, so that we can have very high performance memory operations. DSPs are also required sometimes if we have to do some FFT algorithms or some other high processing thing, then DSP are very much needed. At other places we use FPGAs and ASIC. ASIC, you know that this GPU, TPU, and VPU, those are the very common hardware units that are used for the machine learning implementation. So if we
Yeah,
talk
I
about,
have one question in the that performance graph
yeah, yeah,
at this. Suppose if I want to increase the performance of my system, my battery power will also be consumed so fast. So how we can say the converse that battery power, because when we're talking about the IoT devices, we have to focus on the battery also.
yeah. So you are right. For IoT devices, uh, IoT devices, because it is generally installed at the remote location. battery is a very important feature. So depending upon, like, there are many factors that through which we can conserve the battery power. So if it is not communicating to anything, then we can convert, but we can convert the power. But IoT, if it is IoT device, basically it would be communicating to the outer world also. So we have to have some intelligent method that it would send some data very less frequently. So there are two types of processing, or two types of data. One requires very high bandwidth, another requires very low bandwidth. When we talk about the IoT monitoring solutions, we try to use the low bandwidth where we can conserve the battery power. And if we talk about the high bandwidth, there we cannot conserve the battery because it requires continuous power consumption. So like during the design phase, we decide that how frequently data would be transmitted, when it can go to sleep mode or the deep sleep mode, and yeah, and if how should be the communication, like it is a client server model between the or it is master slaves model. How the handshaking should happen between the end device and the gateway, or the other device through which it is communicating. So the handshaking should be as low as possible so that the memory can be, sorry, the power can be conserved. So there are various factors through which we have to plan the battery conservation. So basically it is not a very easy task. It is complicated thing, how, because the communication has to happen, and there is another factor also, that how much less data we have to transmit. So we try to minimize the size of data. If we have installed a IoT device at a remote location, it would be sending few bytes of data, or maybe sometimes few bits of data, so that the power and the power can be conserved. So there are various factors basically.
So that
So
it's also depends upon the complexity of the coding also, because if
yeah,
the complexity is much more in the coding, then power consumption will be increased.
yeah, definitely. So we have to optimize the code also. Basically, we have to optimize code in terms of the processing as well as the memory access also. So we try to utilize, we don't want to put the code at the ROM. We try to put the code in RAM so that it is easily accessible, or it's in the cache. So this is the complete system architecture. How do we decide in terms of the code implementation as well as the memory access also. So as you like mentioned, the code is one part, and another, there are a lot of factors. If we list down, I think it could be at 10 to 20
Yes,
factors
yes,
that
sir.
can decide.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So let me move. Any more questions in these slides?
One small question, maybe at a very low level, because I have just trying to study. So, what classifies deep learning from machine learning? Is the only number of layers, and how many layers make deep learning? I mean, beyond something.
So yeah, it is. Yeah. So if we are using like more than 3 4 layers, and then we say it is going towards the deep learning side. And generally, if we there are other types like supervised and unsupervised learning. If we it is just a classification, then it is a simple machine learning. But we have to do lot of data processing, like if we, as we talk about the image processing, where we have to do the matrix calculation, uh, uh, because each data is correlated with another data, and it is 2D operations. So there we have to use from object layer till the pixels. So there we use the deep learning. So deep learning, image classification or image processing is the one of the examples. So where you have to do the textual processing, probably it is simple machine learning. but where you have to do image and video processing, it is this is just for example for making you understand.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Means say color identification or the object color identification will be a simple machine learning, and the object identification will be a deep learning exercise.
No.
Say image
Deep
detection.
object detection is still like it depends on how much complex that object is. So if we are working on a very high level features, then probably it can lie down in the simple machine learning algorithm. But if we are talking very niche features, then it could land up in the deep learning. So depending upon the processing that is required,
So
it would be decided. Yeah.
so probably I think then more the features, if we discriminate and we identify the object or anything based on many number of features, then it will be a deep learning. And
Right.
only color or dimension, then it will be a machine learning kind of a thing.
Right. That is the right
Okay.
understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
So if we talk about the GPU and CPU, so what is the difference between CPU and GPU? CPU, as we use in our laptop and computers, it can have multiple cores with a very light level of AI processing. It can CPU, we can also run some machine learning AI then, but it would be very simple one. But if we talk about the GPU, graphics processing unit, it would be having thousands of cores. In CPU we would be having 4, 6 or 8 cores or 16 cores, but in GPU we would be having thousands of core, and those would be doing very specific tasks. Like if they are doing some matrix inversion, matrix calculation, matrix multiplication, so that kind of specialized operations they would be doing based on the application they are targeted. And these are best for the advanced AI loads and the neural networks, and they can do parallel processing in thousands of cores, and good for the image graphics and video processing. So that's why we use GPU when it comes to the deep machine learning algorithms processing. CPU is not suited for that. It's normal. Then we have BPU, visual processing unit. So BPU is good for CNN, convolution neural network, and the SIFT, scale invariant feature transform. And it can include interfaces to take data from cameras, and can have a greater emphasis on chip data flow between many parallel units. So BPU, one of the BPU example is Mobidius Myriad-X. That was a Israeli company that was taken over by Intel a few years back. So it is like very good example of edge computation for the visual processing. So this, it looks like this one. This is a simple one neural stick, and if depending upon the complexity of the data algorithm, machine learning algorithm, we can have multiple. We can scale up depending upon the complexity. So this here we need not to take data to the cloud. This is the beauty. So if we have some industrial operation, we capture the data, we put these neural sticks with the host computer, we do the processing and take the decision immediately. So this is a very good example for the edge computation. Then we have TPU, TensorFlow unit. This was made by Google. So it is very good for ANN, artificial neural network, and the random forest calculation. So basically, each of these algorithms have a different kind of mathematical operations. So how efficiently we can implement those mathematical operations in a specialized hardware. That's why it is called accelerator. So they know what kind of mathematical operations would be performed in these algorithms. So these have specialized functionality or the course within the complete processing unit, so that we can have very good efficiency. So TPU, this is a typical example of TPU V3 pod. We have a multiple array of TPUs. It would be having 100 plus petaflops, 32 TB high bandwidth memory, and 2D toroidal mesh networks, because this supports that even if one of the TPU fails, it would be have duplicacy. So redundancy it maintains so that we can have 24/7 all the time availability of the hardware. So it considers that kind of operations basically. So here we have discussed about the implementation challenges of the machine learning, where we have discussed of the CPU accelerators and constraints. We discussed that power consumption is one of the constraint, as it was asked, memory, speed, cost, and ease of deployment. So deployment is IoT. Why there is a lot of buzz about the IoT, but why we don't see real use cases in the market? It is because of the deployment. Deployment is not that easy. So we have to always consider, we have to make a solution that can be easily deployable. And selection of hardware, how do we do out of the TPU, GPU, CPU, or whatever? We have to check the type of application, what we are doing, energy efficiency, quality and accuracy of data target, and power target. So now we come to the TensorFlow Lite, because this would be the tool that we'd be using for the machine learning. Basically, it is a lighter version of the TensorFlow. TensorFlow is a deep learning algorithm provided by Google. And this TensorFlow Lite can be implemented on the smartphones or the Linux grade devices like the RPI or high-end microcontrollers. And here it provides a facility to run inferences, as we discussed earlier, that machine learning has two parts. One is the learning, another is the prediction or the inferencing. So inferencing we would be doing, it supports inferencing easily on the given constraint hardware. So it enables on device machine learning inference with low latency and a small binary size. The code size is also very small. So as it was asked earlier, that code should also be very much efficient so that we can have very high performance for this one. And the low latency techniques. The TensorFlow has very highly optimized kernels so that we can have very fast processing. So how do we run TensorFlow Lite on my MCU? It has very low tens of kilobyte code footprint. So code size is very small. It has no operating system dependency. So that is beauty of TensorFlow Lite, and no dynamic memory allocation. Because of this, the systems becomes unstable, or it can be a little bit slow in the processing. And when we implement this TensorFlow Lite on a Cortex M processor, we have a problem statement. Then we have a model for neural network model. Then we deploy it, and we finally optimize on the hardware. So as we discussed, that generally the code is not very good for the given hardware. We have to optimize so that we can meet all the constraints given by the particular hardware. So we have to optimize in a multiple way. So one of the example for this one is this we have Alexa, where we have, it does the voice activation and voice activation, voice detection, and perform the actions. So this is a very good example of the edge computing. We have a very small the processor there. Mostly it is based on the RPI. RPI can also be used for supporting the Alexa. So if we implement this voice activation models on Raspberry Pi for the Alexa processing, we can, whatever text or whatever speech it would be getting, it would be performing the action based on that. So, and for the quantization, like as we discussed, in code processing, we also have two kind of thing. One is the how the code has been written. Okay, another thing, that how we are processing the data, because we would be having like numerous data, and data bits could be initially, say it is 16-bit data, and 16-bit data processing could take more cycles. So generally we convert this 16-bit data to 8-bit. By losing little precision, we cannot lose a huge precision. We have to have such mechanism that we can do the quantization from 16-bit to 8-bit, and we can perform the remaining operations. So here in neural network model quantization, we have like bit width is 8-bit or the 16-bit, and then we have fixed point quantization. We do like quantization sweep to identify optimal quantization strategy. There are quantization weights and the activation functions. So we have to optimize those things also, so that it can fit into the given hardware. So all these things are being supported um, uh, by this TensorFlow Lite basically. And we have to have minimal loss in the accuracy. That is the given uh, condition. So now summary is that ML is moving towards the IoT. Many ML use cases can be easily achieved with Cortex M CPU. Exploration of neural network architecture is a key for deployment on hardware constrained devices. And CMSS NN neural network, it is optimized neural network function, helps achieve higher performance and higher accuracy, energy efficiency. So this CMSS is for the Cortex M system interface. Basically, it is a kind of a compiler, or we can say it is a higher layer of abstraction layer to give the access towards the hardware APIs. So it is basically given in the Cortex M microcontrollers. So as computing use cases, as we have seen a few of them already, one of that Alexa is one of them. And nowadays, the industries are becoming very much aware. They are really implementing IoT in their systems basically. So if we talk about the wind turbine, they are also using this embedded IoT with machine learning basically. So in this, they have build, operate, and enhancement. So during the build operation, they have like they have deployed everything. Then they get data from the deployed solution, and based on this, they try to find out the efficiency. What is the efficiency? And through the data, they decide what should be the enhancement. So this is everything is happening as the device side only. The server side, sometimes some part of the processing can be done at the cloud side also, but generally they prefer to do at the edge side. Then there are other areas also, like mining and the metal industries, electricity sector, chemical industries. They also have a huge potential to use machine learning with IoT, and they are working on it. Industry 5.0, where we work with the humans work with the devices with the machines. So it is Industry 5.0. Both have to work very cohesively. This is one of another example where we are using machine learning with IoT. And autonomous cars, you know, that is a very good example where we have to do lot of complex algorithms like laser terrain mapping, how the terrain is there, the path planning, and then adaptive vision, what kind of how when it is going on the transportation route, so which path it has to take, and a lot of challenges are there as a, because it has to take a decision as a human driver. So it has to perform a lot of real-time processing on a given hardware. It cannot take data to the cloud and take the decision. Whatever decision it has to take, it has to take with the hardware that is sitting on the automobile or the car itself. So another example is the predictive maintenance. The industries are using machine learning and IoT in predictive maintenance. What is predictive maintenance? Earlier, or probably we can say till now, the approach was the reactive or the preventive, we can say. So reactive means that once some particular machinery or the machine part is broken, then the person who is maintaining it, he will go and check that what was the fault, why it was broken. But during this process, the production process would be stopped, it would be halted, and it would be a huge loss. So this is done reactive approach when we have to fix when equipment is down. Okay, the preventive is that we do the scheduled maintenance. So after at a periodic interval, we keep on doing the maintenance so that the 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 breakdown can be minimized as much as possible. The third one is the conditional monitoring. So here we would be doing the manual inspection with preventive maintenance and replace the part when showing the sign of failure. So we keep on, like, it would be through human inspection. We see some indication and we replace it. It is called condition monitoring. The fourth one, that is the recent trend, and a lot of industries are working towards predictive maintenance. So predictive maintenance, why it is coming nowadays, it is why it is becoming popular, because now we have machine learning with us and the IoT. So because of these two technologies coming together, we can run the predictive maintenance. So because we have lot of machine data, sensors data coming towards the central repository to the server, now we can run the machine learning algorithms and we can predict what is the health of the particular machine part. If some signs are early signs are seen that something is going wrong, then probably we can do the inspection immediately and do the corrective measures. Because if once it is broken down, then the complete process would be halted and it can cause a billion of or the millions of dollars per day cost. So that's why people are using the analytics a lot. So far, before the predictive maintenance, data what was still captured. We have PLC SCADA for that one in the industries, but all the data, it comes to SCADA, but it goes wasted. Nobody is doing anything. They don't know what to do with this data. A lot of data is coming, but if we have a proper machine learning algorithm in place, we can like decide we can know the health of each and every machinery part, and we can take the corrective measures. So this is one like same thing. We have lot of sensor and actuators. Based on the signals that we are getting from there, we can decide the remaining useful lifetime or time to failure. This is the two terms that are like typically used. Time to failure, like when a particular part can fail, or what is the useful lifetime is remaining for a particular part. So we predict it, and depending on that, we take like event generation would be done, and notification visualization would be done. So this is a we have a proper dashboard for this. Whenever some event occurs, immediately the notification would be generated and the required maintenance would be done. So that is the very good use case for the predictive maintenance and the machine learning with IoT, and really industries are adopting it nowadays. So for example, in industry, what kind of problems we can identify by using predictive maintenance? It could be like defective bearing. Generally in industry we have mechanical parts, right? Mechanical parts that are driven by the electronics. So, and failures generally happens due to electrical issue or the mechanical failure. So the mechanical failure could be like defective bearing. But when we have defective bearing, we have if we take the vibrations, so vibration is a very crucial parameters, or the acoustics is another parameter, current measurement is another parameter, because once it is running in a the machine is running in a good condition, it would be behaving in a certain way. But if it is going towards the braking side, the vibrations, it would be having higher vibrations, it would be start consuming more current. So different kind of signals it would start giving. So based on these signals we can decide that what is happening initially. And this faults can also be divided into two part. One thing is that some problem is about to occur, so that is one indication. And the second, if we have more data, we can even decide that what exactly is the problem is. So that we can pinpoint the problem and we can take directly the corrective measure to rectify that problem. So here we can find the defective bearing, we can find the misalignment between two rotating pieces, we can check that if there is some unbalancing in the fence, if some bearing is needing lubrication, electrical connection needs to be tightened, when oil is contaminated in need of or it is needing the replacement. So these are the typical problems that like generally people know once the machine is broken down. So with IoT, we can rectify, we can take a corrective measure. And for deep learning inference, if we implement this thing, we have two options. Either we do the inferencing in the cloud, where we take data, sensor data, take it to the cloud, we run all the machine learning algorithms in the cloud, and we take the actions. The alternate is that we take the sensor data to the local hardware, local machine only, or local gateway, or whatever hardware we can do. We do the inferencing there, and we take the local action. So this is preferable solution in the industries that those are going for it. And there are really a lot of industries in India that are working towards it. So this is the now I will hand over to Mr. Jitesh. I can take quick questions if there are any. So if there are not any question, let us move to Jitesh. Could you please take over?
Yes, sir. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah. Let me unshare myself.
My screen is visible?
Yes.
Yes, Jitesh. Yeah.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So now we will start the hands-on session. So everyone, please search on the Google Edge Impulse and open the www.edgeimpulse.com. Everyone, please open this website. Now you have to create account here. So just click on the sign up for free. Now you fill the details. Now you fill the details here. What should we call you? Pick a username, your email ID, your password. Then click on the sign up. Then after sign up successfully, you will get this type of page. So are you getting this type of page?
Yes, sir.
Everyone is getting this type of page? Please reply in chat. You are facing any issue? After sign up, you will get this type of page. So are you getting? Okay. So I will wait here 2 minutes. Let me show you again how to do that. So everyone, please see again. You have to open the website edgeimpulse.com. Then you have to create account here. For account, you have to click sign up for free. Then you have to fill the details. Then you have to click on the sign up button after the details filling. Then you will get this type of page. So everyone, So please reply in chat box. Have you successfully created the account? Okay. Okay, now you click here to build your first machine learning model. So like me, I am also doing with you. So just so click here to build your first ML model. So you will get this type of page. So this is the new Edge Impulse project. Here we can collect the accelerometer data, audio, images. So now you just cross this pop-up. You just cross this pop-up. Now, so that now I am also doing with you. Now my project is image classification. So this type of page you are getting. Now cross this. So please reply if you are getting this page, this type of page. Please reply if you are getting this type of page. Are you getting this type of page? This is my username, this is my project name. Similarly, at your end, the username and project name will be shown. So are you getting everyone this type of page? Please reply in chat box. Are you facing any difficulty? Now we will collect some data. So just click on the let's collect some data. Now how we collect our data? So we will use our mobile phone to collect data. So we will be using the mobile phone. So when you click on the show QR code here, use your mobile phone. So use your mobile phone to capture movement, audio, images, or even run your train model locally. No application we required. We will use our mobile phone. Just click on the show QR code. So this type of QR code, quick response code you will get. Now open the Google Lens in your mobile or any QR code scanner app. When you scan this QR code, you will get a message, a text message above the QR code. Just click over there. So you will get, so when you click over there, so your device is now connected to with Edge Impulse. So your device is mobile phone.
Sir, there is some request in the chat box. Please repeat from the project.
Okay, name of the project. Okay. So this is the process. So when you click here to build your first ML model, okay, so now cross this pop-up window. So now you will get this type of page. It's automatically come. It's automatically take the name. but we can rename it. But we can rename it by here. So you can rename it. You can write here image classification. It automatically take the name. You can rename it. Now it is clear to everyone.
Yes, sir.
So you can rename it, or you can get this name automatically, this type of name. Now just close this pop-up window. Now click on the let's collect some data, and now we are using our mobile phone to capture the movement, audio, images. So just click on the show QR code. Now we are connecting our mobile with the Edge Impulse. So you will get this type of QR code. Everyone is getting different QR code. So you have to scan this QR code with your mobile. So you can use Google Lens or other QR scanner applications. You have to scan your code, not my code. Okay. So see here, I am also doing with you, everyone. So this is my project name. Okay. Let's collect some data. I am using your mobile phone. Just show QR code. So this is my QR code. Now I am using the Google Lens app right now. Now I am scanning this QR code. So now on the mobile, I am getting a link. When I click on the link, so and in my mobile phone, see here. But our device phone, this is my device phone, is now connected with Edge Impulse. So in your mobile, it is also showing in a browser. Similarly, at your end, it is also showing. Now we can collect data using our mobile phone. Use the your QR code and go to the link in your mobile. So everyone is getting this type of message. Device phone dial is connected to this. Everyone is getting. So let me give 2 minutes so everyone can do this process. Okay, Vipin, sir, not getting. So see here, sir, I am repeating again. So you have to click on the let's collect some data. First, when you click the first ML model, you will get pop-up window. Now close this pop-up window. Then you have to click let's collect some data. Then click on QR code. So you will get a QR code. You can collect data from any smartphone. So you have to use this QR code. So you have to scan this QR code by using Google Lens app or any other QR code scanner app. Then if you scan it, you will get a link. You have to click on the link. The link will open in your mobile, and your Edge Impulse website will show you like this. Your device phone is now connected. Now it is clear to everyone now. Now you are able to connect your mobile phone with Edge Impulse. Okay. Now, mobile phone is now connected. So we have to collect some data. So just now click on the data acquisition. Everyone, please click on the data acquisition. And in the mobile, you have to click on the collecting images. Okay, so I see here. Now you can follow with me also. So just cross it. This is the data acquisition. Now see here, the same mobile. Our device is my mobile. So in the mobile, so there is a three things like this. See here in the mobile. This is the picture of the mobile. So there is the collecting images, collecting audio, collecting motion. So right now we have to collect the images. So our project image classification. So just click on the collecting images in your mobile. So now give access to your camera. So now because you want to click images, so you have to use your camera to give access to the camera. So after camera access, you open Google. You have to open Google and you have to search the cup images. So we are clicking the images of the cup. So see here, on the mobile, you have to write the label. The label is cup, and then the category split automatically 80-20. So 80 is for the training and 20 for the training and test mode. So we are collecting images. You have to capture the images from your camera. So see here right now, I am capturing images under the label cup. So see here, the first images appear here. The label is cup, and see here, this is the first image I captured from. Similarly, you have to capture at least 15 images, 15 to 20 images of the different cup. So by the, see here, this is the second cup. When you capture this, so see here, the second images is from here, it is coming. So are you getting the images in your Edge Impulse? So are you getting the images in your Edge Impulse? So let me show you the process again. See here. Now when your device is successfully connected with Edge Impulse, you have to click on the Get Started. Now you have to click on the data acquisition. Just click on the data acquisition. Now come to our mobile and click on the collecting images. Now in your mobile, you have to give access to the camera for capturing images. Now you have to write here label. When you click here, you have to change label and write label cup, and it is split automatically 80-20. Just it is automatically shown here. Now click the images one by one. So you will get like this type of images. Now I am also capturing. So now images is capturing under the label. The label is same cup. So you have to capture the at least 15 to 20 images of the cup. So are you getting the images? See here now. I am also clicking. This is another cup. See here. The third image is here. So this is the third image. So are you getting the images? So you have to click on label to name it. So please let me know. Are you getting the images in your Edge Impulse? This may be permission issues. You have to give permission to camera. You have to give in setting to your browser. In your browser, you have to open the setting, then you have to give permission. So we have to click the images of different images. So right now I'm also clicking the different images. This is the next image. This is the next image. Now I am clicking the images. With size. So try to capture single image. So just click the images of different cup.
Yes, Sujata has any question? Sujata. Okay, sir, you can proceed now.
Okay. So right now, see here. Now I am on clicked only 6 images. Now we want more images. So please, everyone, click at least 15 images of different cups. When you click it, you can check on the Edge Impulse also. So please click the images. These pictures are under a single label. That label is cup. Clicking over here. Now change the label Arduino. Hello.
Yeah, Jitesh sir, your presentation screen is gone now. Your presentation screen, yes.
Yes. Now I'm clicking different images of second label under a second label. That label is Arduino. So please similarly click different images of Arduino. So now images is coming. So this is the Arduino images is coming. So please click that images of Arduino, different images of Arduino. So see here. So there are 28 images. There are two labels, 10 images of Arduino, 18 images of the your cup label. So just click more images. So these are the different images. So please click. So are you collecting the images? So have you collect the images for two different objects? Just click the just click on the label on the mobile and change the label. Just you have to click on label to name it. On the mobile phone, you can change the label. Just click on the label to name it. So Sapna ma'am, it may be some permission issue, some issue with your phone. You can try with another mobile. So everyone is getting the images in your Edge Impulse. Everyone is getting the images. Please let me know. So please click more images. See here now I am also collecting the more images. Now images are collecting in different labels. So there are two images, two labels. Some images under Arduino label, some images under cup label. So now we have to create impulse. Okay, so everyone, now you have to click on the create impulse. Just everyone please click on the create impulse. So you will get this screen where you show your data, you see your data like this. So this is, there are two different blocks. There is a processing block and there is a learning block. So now we will do pre-processing of images. So see here, now we have to click, everyone please click on the add a processing block. So pre-process and we normalize the data and we optionally reduce the color or depth of the images. So we are using this model. Just click on the add, this is recommended. So just click on the add. Now everyone please click on the add a processing block. Here we are pre-processing our data. Pre-processing the images means reduce the color or depth. Now we have to add a learning block. We have a learning block here. So it is the algorithm to train the model. So similarly, we have to click here. Now there is a transfer learning for images. So this is the fine tune a pre-trained images classification model on your data. This is recommended by the Edge Impulse. So there are also different models for different work. Right now we are using image classification, so we will use this. So we will add this algorithm to train our model. So there are two output features, Arduino and cup. Now we have to click on the save impulse. So we successfully store our impulse. So everyone, have you created the impulse? Please reply in chat box. The second label is the Arduino. Okay. So now processing. Now we have to save the parameter. Just this is our model. So we have to extract the feature of the data set. So now we have to click on the image. So here we will extract the feature of the data set that we collected. So these are the raw feature, and we have to save the parameters. And this is the process feature. And the processing time is 4 milliseconds, and the peak RAM uses only 4 KB. So now we have to save parameters. The color depth is RGB. Now we have to click on the so there is 33 items in the training set. Now we have to click on the generate features. So see here, it will take some time. Now the feature are generated. So in the feature explorer. So now we will train our model. So these are the images of the orange one is for the cup, for blue one for the Arduino. Now we will train our model. So just click on the transfer learning. So in the input layer there are 27,648 features. So we will use this mobile net neuron 16 neuron version. Now output layer, in the output layer there are only 2 features. In input layer there is 27,648 features. In output layer there are 2 features. Either it is Arduino or the. So input feature like shape, size, color, this type of things. So now we have to click on the start training. Now the train, this is the training output you will see. So now we're still saving our model. So after completion of model training, it will generate quantized and non-quantized models. So we will be using quantized model to our prediction. Not getting a type of point. So you will get the start training from transfer learning. Just click on the transfer learning after generating the features. So just click on the transfer learning. Here you will get the start training. Yes. Now it is training our output. It will take some time. So have you started the training, everyone? Please let me know. Have you started your training? So it make a TensorFlow model and then convert it integer TensorFlow line.
Sir, can you please repeat?
So it make a TensorFlow model. So see here, are you asking for steps?
Yes, sir.
So these are the steps.
After start training,
So after start training, it will take some time. So now it is now also training our model. This is train my model. It is taking time. Sir. It is now running. Still, it is running. So it make a TensorFlow model and convert into TensorFlow line. Because we want to run it on our microcontroller. So TensorFlow Lite is helpful, which you can run in small machine. And TensorFlow is very helpful. So it is now still it is running, converting TensorFlow to TensorFlow Lite because we want to run in on microcontroller. So it integer uint8 based model and a float 32 model also. So see here, this is the int8 model and float 32 model. So for MCU, 8-bit model is used. Uint 8-bit model, unsigned integer 8-bit model we will use for microcontroller.
Sir, after this start training, the training output is coming, and into that EF Lite is coming, right?
Yes, sir. So see here, this is our
So
accuracy, 85.7%. So in the confusion matrix, Arduino 50%, cup is also Arduino 50%, and for cup 0% for 100%. This is our confusion matrix. So it is like it detects 100% of cup as cup or 100% of Arduino as Arduino. Like 50%, like right now for Arduino it is 50%, for cup it is for 100%. Detect cup as 100% because we have less data right now for the Arduino. We have, that's why I'm saying please upload more pics because we need at least 20 to 25 pics of one object. So we can also, this is our testing model. We can also retrain our model if we want to add more data to data after creating a model. A model is created. Now we want to add more data, so we can retrain our model. So see here. So this is the, you can click over there. You can retrain your model. So you can now add more pics after creating the model. So everyone is getting this model. This is quantized int 8 model. Are you getting this? So this is the peak RAM we are using. This is the flash we are using. Now we will do a live classification. So see here. Now in the mobile, below the capture, there is a classification mode. So you have to click in the mobile below the capture, switch to classification mode. So just click on the in the mobile, switch to classification mode. So it will download the model from the cloud to the local mobile. And do the inferencing on the mobile. So now it is downloading. So now see here. Now you have to give access to the camera, everyone. So now you have to search different images of object. Like see here, there are some different images. We are using some different image like this. So now capture this image, then there is a classify button will appear. So now you have to press the classify. So it will show the result. So it is Arduino. So see here, you will get this type. You have to press. So this is like, this is 98%. This is a Arduino. So it will show you one means 100% it is a Arduino. So this is the classification result. Similarly, you can classify different images. See here. Now click on next photo, then press the classify. So it is 99%. Now it is a Arduino, and 1.1% it is 0.01% it is a cup. So similarly, you can also search on the cup images. So this is the model running on your mobile. So really, you can search any cups like this and click on the next photo in your mobile and classify this object. So this is 100%, this is a cup. So are you getting the result? Are you able to classify the objects? Are you able to classify the objects? So these are the steps how to start it. So see here. So in your mobile, below the capture, you will get the switch to classification mode, because now you have to classify the images. So just click on the classification mode. So it will download the model from the cloud to your local mobile and do the inferencing on the mobile. So just click on the switch to classification mode. Then you will search any image. Just then put your camera in front of image and press the classify button. So it will give you result like this. Now are you getting? So you no need to reconnect the mobile. If you got disconnected, then you have to reconnect. Otherwise, no need to reconnect now. So everyone is able to classify the images. Please let me know in chat box. If anyone facing difficulty, let me know. So please let me know. If anyone facing any difficulty, please let me know. So, Vipin sir, you have to follow the steps like for in devices to connect using the QR code. So see here devices, and here you have to connect new device. Click on the connect new device, show QR code, then scan it. Now you can, by scan this, you can connect your mobile again. So see here, like this. Now you give access to camera like this. So it's in below one, see here, switch to classification now. So everyone is able to get the. So see here, these are the steps I am repeating. So I am repeating the whole project once. So after that, creating the account, you have to cross this pop-up window. Now you have to collect some data. Just click on the let some data. Use your mobile phone, show your QR code, then scan this code. You will get a link. Now your mobile phone is connected with Agile. So now you will do the first step, data acquisition. You need data actually. So you will collect the images under two different labels, cup and Arduino. So these are images are collected. Okay. Now you have to create impulse. you have to add a processing block, you have to add a learning block. Then the impulse is saved. Now you have to extract the features. So you have to save here parameter, you have to generate features. So you will get a graph of the features. Then you have, now you will transfer the learning and you will train the model. So input feature are like this, output feature only two. Now you will do the start the training. So you will get the accuracy of your model, how you accurate model. Now after that, in the mobile, you have to switch to the classification mode. So now you have to classify. So as we are short of time, we are not able uh, to do the predictive mental. Time. So this is our IoT development board with accelerometer. So this is our IoT development board. So this is our website is uctrobotics.com. So this is our IoT development board. Here is accelerometer and the ESP32 base. So here in the board there are different sensors. So don't worry, we will share the video to how to do the vibration analysis. We will share the video link. So using this board, this is our board. Using this board, or you can use the vibration analysis using your mobile also. So we will share the link of the video of the vibration analysis, because right now we are short of the time. So we will use this board, IoT development board with accelerometer. So this is the anomaly detection we will use. Similarly, we are collecting the images. So we will collect data, normal data and anomaly data. Then we will train our model. Okay. So thank you guys. Any query, any questions? You can ask. Any queries, any question? You can ask. So thank you guys. Now this is the end of the session from my side.
Yes, participants, if you have any question, you can ask to sir.
So this is our IoT development board. So is it the ESP32 based IoT development board? We have designed it for students and hobbyists. So in this board, we will use this board. There is an accelerometer sensor. So we will do our IoT experiment. So just wait 1 minute. I will show you the board. Just wait. So this is our board. This is the IoT development board. And here, this is the ESP32 base. And there are some sensor. This is OLED display. There is a accelerometer MPU6050. This is air quality sensor DHT11, LDR, ultrasonic sensor. So you can plug in and you can connect the board with the sub jumper wire using the jumper wire. So it is pre-made board. You can no need to purchase any hardware. You can connect. There are 10 sensors you can connect with the your IoT development board. Okay. Any other question? So you can. This is the board. You can see here. This is our board. Any other questions?
Good morning, sir. Sir,
Good morning.
any open source tool is available for practical purpose for IoT?
So can you repeat again question?
Yeah. Any open source platform is available for IoT experiments?
Yes, sir. Sir, Node-RED, you can use Node-RED, that is the open source. Edge Impulse, that we are right now we are using, that is also a open source.
Sir, I request you to type the spelling of in chat box.
Okay, sir. So this is the Node-RED, sir. Node-RED, Edge Impulse, ThingsBoard, these are the services. And many platforms depending on the use case.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other query?
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Sir, can you tell us any emulator available for IoT? Like it is very difficult for us to create the IoT environment because the hardware, I mean, it's a bit costly. So, is there any emulator available so that we can create the IoT environment and then apply these machine learning techniques as you told?
Yes, sir, we can, but for IoT, most of the case, most of the emulator don't work actually for the IoT. Like we are also using right now board. So for IoT, you can use Tinkercad paid version actually that you can use. For free version, they will not provide any IoT based thing. And you can also use the Proteus also.
Okay, sir. Can you please type the spellings?
Yes, 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 sir. So Tinkercad, Proteus.
Sir, this Proteus is available like Tinkercad in the form of website, or we need to download the
It is
setup?
form of website, sir.
It is in the form of website.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir. It is browser-based editor.
Okay, sir.
Proteus
thank you,
is the
sir.
application. You have to install it. Proteus is a software you have to install.
Okay, sir. Yes, any other question? So I think, sir, there are no more questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. So, I would like to thank you on behalf of the department. First of all, Mr. Kaushalen, sir, has delivered a very excellent session. He has started from the basics of IoT and informed us about the implementation of IoT by machine learning techniques. And sir has also shown the impact of machine learning on various quality of service parameters. And then after that, Jitesh sir has shown us step-by-step procedure for IoT applications on the Edge Impulse website. This has opened a new horizon for us, because until now we did not know that. We were just practicing this thing on Tinkercad and Simple website, but for the first time we came to know that IoT can also be implemented like this. And so this would help our participant to implement the field, explore the field of IoT. And it was once again very interesting and informative session. Special thanks to Uniconvergence Technology. So now in the end, I would request all the participants to do as much as possible hands-on on the Edge Impulse website and other website which sir have suggested it. And in case you have any query, we will talk to our expert and share the email ID of our experts with you. Okay.
We will also share the vibration analysis video link also, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next session will start.
Okay. So
12:10.
our next session will start at after 7 minutes. Means from 12:10 we will start. Okay. Dr. Santosh Vishwakarma from IIT Indore will take the next session. Okay, so we'll meet after some time at 12:10.